I just want to say welcome everybody, all the observers to Namibia. Sorry, all the observers to Namibia. Our water is safe, so you can drink the water. Sorry, I don't know why. I was rushing.
Take your time.
It never happened to me before. Okay, our water is safe. You can drink tap water. The malaria season has not started yet. We are doing the spraying at the moment. So our teams are busy in the field. We do have an outbreak of hepatitis E in the country. So take care with the washing of hands and proper sanitation. I don't know if you have any questions. I would like to answer your questions. Yes.
I'm just curious to know whether there is any precautionary measure taken by your teams to make sure that the police station, maybe with ambulances or anything, is there a possibility? Because I think that's something that we don't normally look at, but I think there's an opportunity.
Sorry, can you just repeat the question, please? The microphone.
I'm just saying that while we have you there, is there any possibility that we could have support with an ambulance at some of the polling stations or in the proximity of some of the polling stations, just in case somebody collapses, anything happens, so that we can actually rescue that life?
Okay. Unfortunately, we will not make ambulances available at polling stations. We advise the polling officers and the returning officers to make contact and familiarize themselves with the proximity of the nearest health facility, so that they can, and also get the contact numbers and the location of the clinic or health center or the hospital. Ambulances will be stationed at the clinics, so when there is a problem, the polling officer or the returning officer can phone the nurse on duty or the doctor on duty, and then the ambulance will be dispatched. So it's very important for the electoral officials to familiarize themselves with the location of the clinic and the telephone numbers also of the clinic, both the mobile and the landlines. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible perhaps to indicate maybe areas that are mostly affected or prone to hepatitis B, so observers can take necessary precautions?
Hepatitis E has spread to all 14 regions in the country. So we advise that, you take precautions everywhere you go. Windhoek is mostly affected, and also the coast, but then also other regions in the country, all the regions basically. My appeal is also to the ECN to try and make sure that there is water for people, so that people do not share containers or bottles. Somebody may be thirsty and ask a drink from somebody else, and then they share the bottles. There will be a lot of handshaking, of course. We hope there is proper sanitation facilities and water for people, and water and soap for people to wash their hands after making use of toilets, and that drinking waters or containers will not be shared by people who are queuing to vote. So those are some of the basic precautions that should be in place. So please, if by any chance you have a way of assisting the people who are in the queues, please do so. And Anything else? If not, I thank you very much. Oh, by the way, all the health facilities will be open. I don't know if I've said that. The nurses will rotate, but all the health facilities will be open and staff will be on duty at all times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy ED, for that elaborate process and the services that are available. And you also made it easy for me to allow for the plenary process to start, and then we do the process of the EVM practical presentation to be done immediately thereafter. So for the first part of our program, we will then continue with the questions and answers, and I will ask Commissioner Fryer to lead us into that process. Thank you. So we take on continuing with the question process.
Good morning. We are coming from refreshments. We can do better than that. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
All right. We will go into questions and answers. It's basically the first two presentations by the CEO and the small presentation on the Code of Conduct. Allow me to, at the onset, state on the protocol that was established. What I will do is I will take 5 questions for the first half. And please, I'm inviting you to, this is the opportunity that we have. We might not have an opportunity like this one again. First set of questions, I'll take 5. We deal with those 5. We'll take another 5. If there are 25, so be it. But it is your opportunity to ask for issues of clarity, questions, observations, and so forth. Yes, madam. Please introduce yourself and be brief to the point. Madam?
Yes, hello, I'm Claudia Fischer. I'm the Deputy of the European Union, representing the EU observation team. I had several questions, unfortunately probably more than 5 from our big team. One is, when do you want the report, which you mentioned this morning? By when do you want it, the report on the process? Is there a deadline for it, or can we send it in January after the holidays? Or
Thank you.
So number 1. Number 2, there was a question. You have mobile polling stations, and they close at 1 o'clock, and then in the afternoon they move to another place. So one question was, where the results taken at one mobile station, will they be then published at 1 o'clock on the one and in the evening on the other, or will that be for the whole day? Another question was whether observers will be officially invited to participate on the 28th, 29th for the collation of the end result.
Thank you, madam. I have those 3.
Yes, and one more, I think that it is. Our observers wanted to know whether invalid votes are also published as a separate category on your list. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You have almost finished the first quarter. Yes, can I have one more? The technical questions will be dealt with after the presentation on the EVM. All the technical EVMs related to specific questions. Can we deal with questions in relation to the first 2? Carola.
Good morning, my name is Carola Engelbrecht and I am an accredited observer under the NANGOF umbrella body for civil society. I'm still not quite clear. I checked the law and I checked the regulations regarding the announcement of results that were now collated for the 122nd constituency, being the votes cast outside Namibia at foreign missions? And also, who and where is that returning officer? And the other thing is, when the results are announced at polling stations, there will be a printout from the ballot unit. And there are also forms that have to be, ECN forms that have to be completed, because the electronic voting machine does not indicate, the printout does not indicate names of candidates or political parties. It will just say button number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the results. So will there be 2 papers posted outside, one with the printout of the ballot unit and then next to it the ECN form, which will indicate the political parties and or the candidates with the accompanying or correlating results, which then can be verified with the printout next to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we deal with my brother? I will accommodate you in the second round. Chairperson.
Can you give us one mic here, please?
Thank you very much. I will deal with the question on the observer reports. You are required 1 month after the announcement of results. After the announcement of our election results, 1 month thereafter, you will be required to submit your observer report. Thank you very much.
On the question of how do we manage the results of mobile teams? Okay, what happens is that typically you will have one mobile team covering, let's say, 4 mobile points. It's important that we be careful using mobile teams. There's a difference between a mobile team and a mobile point. Okay, so you may have one mobile team covering, let's say, 4 mobile stations or points. So we said that our polling process starts at 7 in the morning, it closes at 9 p.m. So typically you will have a mobile team starting at a particular point at 7. And then, let's say by 10 o'clock, they must close, drive, so that at 11, they serve their second mobile point. And then they would be there, let's say from 11, let's say to 3, so that from 3 they pack up and go start at another one from 4, depending on how many they are. But what happens is that they close the process at the first mobile point without announcing any results. Okay? They continue to the next point, people vote, they seal up their machines and equipment, and then they go to, until they reach their final mobile point. So at the end of the polling process, where they will be completing the process, they will then be required, the presiding officer will then be required, in a similar manner as a fixed mobile team or station, to then count or generate a result from the control unit, and then announce the result, which combines results voted at all the mobile stations during the day, so that at the end of the day, they don't generate 3 or 4 separate results. It's one result to be generated by the presiding officer of that particular mobile team. Okay, there was a question about invalid votes. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons why the Electoral Commission decided, together with stakeholders, to introduce electronic voting machines was because of the fact that you don't have to deal with spoiled ballots. Where in a manual paper balloting system, you would find incidents where the voter has put the mark in such a way that it becomes so difficult during the counting process to actually establish the intention of the voter. Because you just can't get to see the point of intersection of the cross. You know, it becomes sometimes complicated to determine the true intention of the voter. So for that reason, some of these votes end up being spoiled ballots. With electronic voting machines, all your votes are valid votes. Similarly, in a manual balloting process, you have instances where a ballot is rejected. Why? Because for one or the other reason, it has not been stamped at the back. In a manual voting process, you must stamp all your ballots so that they are authentic, so that nobody can actually introduce some funny ballots into the voting process. So if for one or the other reason, a ballot during the counting process does not contain the mark at the back, it's regarded as a rejected ballot. With the use of electronic voting machines, we don't have those kinds of things. Let me also tell you something. In the year 2009, when it was the last national elections where we have used manual ballots, when you look at the number of spoiled ballots, I think they were close to maybe 11,000 spoiled ballots from across the country. You know what that amounts to? When you execute the formula for allocating seats in the National Assembly. Usually in Namibia, depending on the outcome, it's around 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 to be able to get one seat. So if electronic voting machines. There was a question foreign votes.
There's a question on whether observers will be invited to the results center.
Yes.
Let us be brief. There's a question on whether they will be invited to the results center. There's a question on the 122nd constituency. Please respond to that briefly.
Yes.
And what is posted at the polling station, just briefly.
Thank you.
This is not your time. I'm protecting you.
Yes. No, indeed. At the Central Election Results Center, election observers are invited and will be invited to be part, to visit that facility. We have an accreditation process, and we are working directly with mission leaders and the Secretariat to be able to inform about the logistics of their participation or presence in that facility. But the short answer is yes, including political parties as well. In terms of the foreign votes, yes, I have indicated that administratively we regard the voting process at all our foreign missions as our 122nd constituency for electoral purposes. And yes, we do have a returning officer in the person of Mr. Romanes Konyole. He's a staff member at the Ministry of International Relations. As we speak, he's reporting to the Electoral Commission as our returning officer for the foreign votes. He's based in Namibia, he's with us. In fact, right now, he's operating from our head office.
Okay.
Yes.
The last one is what is posted at the polling station. See, Vivian?
Yeah, please.
Good morning. They will be posting the printout, a copy of the printout from the EVM, and Form 5 or Form 6, depending on the type of elections. The Form 5 contains the names of the participating parties.
Thank you. All right, we'll take the next round. The gentleman there at the back. Vicky? Yeah. The gentleman there at the back, I recognize you. Pauline thereafter.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Stephen. I'm a reporter in Namibia. What you mentioned when you were explaining about the VV pile, you said that it can print a paper, and then sometimes when it does the printout, then the voter will, what do I say? The paper that will be coming out will not correspond with the voter's expression. So that tells us that either the voting machine is pre-programmed or it does not work properly. Two, now based on that, is the ECN ready to have kind of a demo voting? We get a number of political parties to get a certain controlled sample of people, and then we take random machines. So we have a demo voting to make sure that what you press here, for example, if I press X, the result is X. Can we do that? Can the ECN allow that to take place? We have to demo voting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, it's clear. Yes, sir. Yes. Ms. Dunbar, you will be there after.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us here. Mr. Maduro, I think we spoke a few weeks back, and like you, I am not a tech expert, but you mentioned that there will be essentially a tech, in terms of technology-focused team to support when it comes to any of the machine issues. But I'd be curious to hear what are the procedures if there is an issue. How does the tech team actually engage with the issue? Because as you mentioned before, you don't want a situation where an error with the machine is affecting the voter. You did mention that quite clearly. It'd be interesting to hear what are those processes going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Olin Dembers, NANCOF Observer Team. The first one is on logistics. I would like to know how prepared ECN is in terms of transport, since you are getting it now from us, the citizens. And the other is also there are two incidents that happened that are disturbing, and we have just heard from the police that nothing happened, which is taking me back, and I take them both as serious. And I'm just thinking one of it is the clip that was circulating that has got a derogatory word used against a certain ethnic group, where the incumbent's poster was destroyed and the independent candidate post was posted on. That just, it's not just the incident, it's what happened, and you know, it takes me personally back, because I know what ethnic tension can cause in a country. The other is also, again, the Watergate, where, as we gathered, a baby was also shot in the face. Police were apparently using rubber bullets. So these are two serious incidents that really are disturbing. And I'm just thinking what the role of the police is in that regard, and also what the role of the ECN would be. I know that there are most of the parties that did not sign up to the code of conduct, but then maybe backed by the law, the electoral law, what would be your role in such incidences? And if it happens in future, if the tension rises, what would be your role?
Thank you very much. Another? Any other? The gentleman? All right. Well, we come and do you have noticed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Sayed with ECF. I'm just going to ask a question regarding the numbers of voters within the fixed polling stations and the mobile polling stations. Because for mobile polling station, you have someone voting, they might move from 1 to 4 mobile stations. So it means they have to divide, the number is divided. So I just wanted to know whether the numbers, especially in this mobile polling station, you have a specific number or they can just be numbers. And what happens if in case the time is up within a mobile, a particular mobile station, and people have not finished voting? What happens? Because with the polling station, the fixed polling station, you will be able to say, okay, people can vote until they are done.
Thank you. My brother, I want to negotiate with you, to deal with you in the next round. You have a mouthful. Is that okay with you? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. I would like to first deal with the question by our brother at the back, where the parties can be allowed a session of random picking machines. I think it's very important for you to be aware that there is a pre-poll test which takes place at every polling station. And at this pre-poll test, before the poll starts, this is the opportunity that political parties have with their party agents to ensure that the machine has not got any votes in it. This pre-poll test is done, they are given an opportunity to vote, they are given the opportunity to see the result, then the machine is cleared before the start of the poll. So this opportunity is available within the parameters of the electoral law. This is a procedure that is followed at every polling station. Party agents are expected to be there by 6 a.m. in the morning so that they can be part and parcel of the pre-poll test. So I would encourage party agents to make sure that they are at the polling station so that they are part of the pre-polling test. This is a statutory provision in the Electoral Act for everyone to ensure that the machines have not got any votes in them before the polling starts at 7 a.m. So this should be encouraged, that party agents make sure their polling agents are there. The other issue of the VVPAT, I think our technician can answer that because it's more a technical question. And on the issue of I think one of the issues that were raised by NANGOF, there were specific events that may have taken place or not. We are not aware of what has been reported to the police, if anything has been reported to police and so forth. So I think that is more for the police to answer any specific incidents. But with regard to incidents that are violating the code of conduct, the ECN has come out very strongly. We had a session to inform parties about the importance of complying with the code of conduct. I had an interview with the ABC. Unfortunately, they did not feature the important aspects that I spoke about on the code of conduct. So the code of conduct is very critical. We have, as ECN, are saying that it is important for political parties to comply with the code of conduct. We are saying that the leaders of political parties have an obligation, have a duty to encourage their supporters to comply with the code of conduct and to ensure that their members are not violating any aspects of the code of conduct. There are obviously electoral offences within the Electoral Act. So whether a political party has signed the code of conduct or not, they are still liable to comply with the code of conduct. And they can be charged with electoral offences if they do not comply with the code of conduct. If they involve themselves in any criminal conduct, the Criminal Procedure Act is there for anybody who violates and involves themselves in any criminal conduct during political activity. The Criminal Procedure Act is there and any person can be charged under that act. So there is the electoral offences and there is the Criminal Procedure Act. So as an Electoral Commission, we take it very seriously that parties should comply with the code of conduct. This is very, very critical for us going forward, that we have peaceful elections and that all parties make sure that they comply with the code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the Blind Commission, IG, you want to add?
Yeah.
Please, where's the mic? Are the mics in short supply?
Yeah, I will quickly try to respond on the incident that had happened. The one I referred to in Mandangwa and Oshakati respectively. But before I do that, I want to draw your attention to the fact that the security forces are state constitutionally state state security apparatus to protect and defend the integrity of the state. We are professional and we are political. Now, our responsibility in terms of protecting the head of state should be done in such a way that we assure our head of state, who has already by all the majority, is safe and protected. Now, in this case, His Excellency the President landed at Nawa Airport from another campaign, and he was heading to Oshakati, to the state guest house in Oshakati, to allow him to proceed with further campaigns the following day. And deliberately, because some people or political parties and supporters, maybe by virtue of not having signed the code of conduct that should guide them, they try to make a mob out of it or a ridicule out of it by deliberately staging their blockade at the D-junction coming from the airport. No respect, and they were chanting some derogative statements to say the president could just get back on his bed and maybe fly over to Oshakati. Now, as a police officer, you need to come in and negotiate. Negotiate if they have failed. We have a concept of operations. Concept of operations maintain use of minimum force. Now, minimum force will depend on the gravity of the situation. It's not to say you bring a scale, we weigh how serious or how grave or the tension is all about in terms of a mob or a crowd. We negotiated to say where the rights are ending is where the other one's rights start. Can you pay away and give way? And they were refusing. So the minimum force that we brought in is to disperse it. And that's where we have engaged them by firing rubber bullets. Rubber bullets in the context of dispersing the crowd is what you can characterize under minimum force. Maximum force was going to be life. If you were also a security officer in that case, there is no way you would have not acted this way. Now, those allegations that are saying it's a small baby or a small kid that was involved in whatever, investigation is ongoing. So it will be, and I don't want to prejudice, similar to those people that were chanting derogative words and statements, including incitement. And I want to tell you to make it clear, to say some of the incitement went to an extent of saying if the president of the Hungarian wins, they will make sure they will turn him by force. That's not that he will. You see? Now, as you, as a security officer or a state security apparatus, mandated constitutionally to maintain law and order, because this was unruly or was to go to an unruly situation. And this is the language that we can use to to quell all this or to displace all these unruly crowds. But we are Namibians police officers. We are human beings. And we should just, by all means, try to maintain law and order as we are mandated.
Thank you.
And we also urge the political parties. The Inspector General is engaging. Once an unruly situation is occurring elsewhere, we engage the leaders of those particular political parties to talk to them. We should also be responsible enough as leaders of political parties and as supporters or members of various political parties to behave and to abide by. We are charged, notwithstanding that many of the political parties did not sign the code of conduct, we can still charge them criminal, incitement, sedition, you name it. Thank you.
Thank you. I always thought police linguistic economists, but the IG was. Thank you very much for that clear. We have a question on transport. Yes. And please, there was an issue from the ECN on the numbers.
Okay.
Those two things in brief,
Yes.
and then I will accommodate.
In terms of our transport logistics, in as far as the transportation of materials is concerned, we have no issues whatsoever. And we never had issues even during previous elections. We have sufficient trucks to take both sensitive and non-sensitive election materials. We have secured escort services provision with the Namibian police, transporting these materials from the head office to all the constituencies. The issue that we have been dealing with, in as far as transport is concerned, was the vehicles for our polling teams. And as we have indicated, as we speak right now, we are engaging with members of the public. We are using privately owned vehicles. We are working very closely with the traffic authorities to make sure that the roadworthiness aspects of these vehicles are taken care of, licensing issues and all of that. Then we have determined a rate that we pay. I must mention to you that this particular approach has served us well, even during the 2014 national elections. So in as far as transport is concerned, we are mitigating. We have no issues there. Thank you. In terms of the numbers, you're talking about the polling officials in a mobile team. Was that the question? The number of polling officials?
Number of voters per mobile. The numbers.
Okay. The operating principle of the Electoral Commission. You don't leave voters unattended. That's how we operate. Okay? Any mobile team must make sure that people in the queue at any given point in time, before they move to the next point, they must make sure that they attend to everybody in that queue. Remember, I did mention earlier in my presentation that often we do have problems because people can vote anywhere. So you have people rocking up at a particular station that is meant just to serve 100 people, over a 2-hour period or whatever the case may be. They may now have to deal with 500 voters, that kind of thing. The unintended consequence is that this team will delay in arriving at their next stop. And we are keeping a very close eye on our mobile teams during the forthcoming operations. So that if we realize that this particular mobile team may not make it, we can then send backup mobile teams to go and service the voters at the other polling stations.
Thank you very much. The gentleman there, thanks for your patience.
Paul, there was a question about the technical question. We'll come to that.
We will deal with the technical question at
Yes.
the end. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your patience, sir.
It's okay. Thank you. The first question is really to know the EVM, are they enough? How many are they that going to be utilized. And also maybe, Mr. Theo, I heard in your presentation you mentioned ECN has acquired the voters verification device. How many, and how are you going to utilize this, like per polling station? Is it only one, because you are going to load all the national register in this system? And also maybe a background information, is this the first time ECN utilizing this device? And are all technicians equipped with this? And so I'm really just trying to understand how it's going to work, considering that if a voter, somebody came to vote, and basically your entrance is determined here at this device. If there's a fault in it, then it's also a bit of a hiccup, I think. So maybe just an understanding of the new device. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the last round. Any other question? Okay, in this number 1, 2, 3. Yes, sir. Kindly be brief and to the point.
Okay.
In the responses, I also plead that we are brief.
Mine is not a question, but rather an appeal. My name is Kevin. I'm from Eagle FM. We, as the media, we understand that we are an important stakeholder, and we work in close proximity with ECN. And we know that there's a lot of fake news that is circulating around, and we do appeal to our communication team to be prompt every time that we ask the question, is this real? So that we can counter that. Thank you.
Thank you. We are taking note of that, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael. Mr. Mayura, you mentioned about the ongoing tribunal. I'm just wondering, what's the preparedness of the ECN in deploying the remedies, be it the technicians or the paper trail or the ballot? Can the ECN, should that be the outcome of that?
Thank you very much. Gentleman from ECN.
Thank you very much. I'm Hamis from SADC ECN. I have to thank the Commission first for this level of preparedness. What I want to know, what are the challenges that the Commission faces, that the Commission faces so far as early voting is concerned? And I have heard also there are 2 or 1 polling center within the constituency for early voting. So why in other constituencies 1 and in the other 2 polling? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we have, now I'm really, I'll take 2 or 3 more. Madam?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for taking me. I think I didn't hear in the report of Mr. Mioro about the voter cards that we have lost. Up to which date can we make the declaration so that also needs to be made known to the public? And then the chairperson was reporting, but I think, what do you do when they breach? What is it for a political party when they breach? Of course, I heard what the police are saying. Even if there is no code of conduct, they will deal with it in a criminal way. But what do you do when these political parties are really breaching this code, although they have not signed?
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, madam?
Good morning. Mine is also not a question, it's an appeal that ECN makes sure that the returning officers at the polling station understands why the media need to be present. We had problems the last election where we were not allowed to go inside the polling station, and where we were also not allowed to speak to party agents. We literally had to beg for these things. We want to have the liberty to even go into the station and observe for ourselves the proceedings. Can we please? And take pictures as well. We are mindful of the fact that we can't be taking pictures of people voting, but even to just take pictures of the setting of the polling station.
Thank you very much. We have a sufficient number of questions Any other person who had no chance before? Carola, I have given you. Any other person? All right, Carola, after that I will conclude.
Thank you very much. It's actually sort of a follow-up question. During the special voting days, it was not only the Namibian police who were allowed to vote, but it is also the Defence Force and the correctional services. But we have not heard what will be the role of the Namibian Defence Force and the correctional services. I understand the police, I know that the police was there. Previously, sometimes it was the special field forces. And there's sometimes a misunderstanding or not enough understanding of civic rights at polling stations or so, and some of these people are deployed that are not properly trained. The other thing that I noticed, which is not to the ECN, I'm just leaving it here, is that I see that the vehicles marked SADC with Gauteng number plates are racing dangerously through Windhoek. I don't understand it. It is like a presidential motorcade, and they are driving like this over the lines. It's really scary, and I don't understand why that is necessary. I've seen it twice. Once they were racing in front of the ECN headquarters somewhere. The other time was on Mandungu Mufaya Street. It was really scary.
Thank you, Carola. We are taking note. CEO,
thank you.
Briefly, very briefly, what is the I think I want the chairperson to respond to the question on the diagnosis.
Thank you, moderator. Just quick responses. There was a question on why one polling station in some constituencies and two in others during the special day of voting. And I want to combine this question with the question by Carola on the special voting arrangements. It is important to mention here that in terms of the Electoral Act, I just forgot the section right now. The law is very specific in that there are three categories who should vote on that particular day. As we have indicated, the foreign missions, Namibians abroad registered as voters. Secondly, seagoing. Thirdly, security services personnel. And that is where the NDF comes in the picture. The Act is very specific. NAMPOL personnel, NDF, correctional services personnel. It's for that reason that we had to facilitate the voting for those three subcategories. Now, when we determined the polling stations, some of our constituencies are quite vast. Some constituencies we have to travel close to 400 kilometers, from one to the end to the other end of the constituency. So because of the geographic locations, we saw it fit in some constituencies to determine not one but two polling stations for the special day voting operations. There was a question about the issuance of duplicate voters' cards. This is in the law, that if you lose your voter card or it's damaged before the day of polling, you can be issued with a duplicate voter's card. Now I must tell you that for the past few years, this facility was only available in Windhoek, in the capital at the ECN head offices. We have made special arrangements, recognizing the fact that as we reach closer and closer to the day of polling, a lot of people would go to the police stations to get sworn declarations that they have lost their cards. For that reason, we have decentralized the issuance of duplicate voters' cards. So as I sit here, in all our regional capitals, you can go to the nearest police station, make your statement, go to an ECN office, instantly receive your duplicate voters' card. Yes, this arrangement started on Monday, the 18th of November. In terms of the law, until the day before the day of polling, can we issue duplicate voters' cards. However, on the day of polling, we don't issue duplicate voters' cards.
Are your EVMs enough?
Our EVMs are enough. Thank you very much. They are more than enough, including the VVDs as well.
There was a question.
The voter verification devices.
There was a question on if, for whatever reason, the VVDs are acting up. Is there another method how?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Please deal with it.
You are testing me. Thank you very much. Yes, the arrangement at the polling station, as I've indicated, when you get there, you present your card. The VV device will then read your barcode. We retrieve your profile. You vote. In the event that a VVD is not operational, is acting up, keep in mind that at all polling stations, we will also be having the manual voters register at all polling stations as a backup.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairperson, please deal with the issue of the tribunals and what do we do in the case of breach?
Thank you very much. With regard to the tribunal, the case that is before court, I think as the ECN, we would not want to preempt what will be the ruling of the court. Safe to say that in terms of the law, we are preparing to conduct the election with the electronic voting machine, and we are fully within the parameters of the law to do so. The law allows us to conduct an election with the electronic voting machine without the VVPAT, and that is because the operative section 97 has not yet come into operation. It has to be gazetted by the minister. So at present, the operations that we are following, the calendar that we are following now to conduct elections with EVMs is fully within the legal framework. I think I would go thus far because I think we should not preempt. We would not want to preempt what the court may rule. With regard to the code of conduct, I think it's important to say that parties have an onus. Parties have an onus to report incidents. There are some one or two few incidents that were reported at the PLC committee, but in my understanding, I don't believe that those parties actually reported those cases to the police. So I think there is an onus on the parties themselves. There are electoral offences. There are criminal offences. So if parties want the code of conduct to be enforced, they also have an obligation to report these cases. They need to report these cases. So the issue is we have the code of conduct, but the ECN cannot be the one to go and report every case that takes place. And then we end up as ECN becoming the complainant. That will not be possible. We as ECN cannot become the complainant in every case of misconduct or violation of the code of conduct. There is an obligation on political parties, if they believe the code of conduct has been violated against them, they need to go and lodge a complaint. They should go and lodge a complaint. And in that manner, the code of conduct would then be enforced. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. With the permission of the Chair, I have had no question from the colleagues of the diplomatic corps. When we get married, they say you forever hold your peace if you don't say anything now. Oh, there was. I think we can. One more from that category. Yes, Mayor General. Maybe another one more from
I just want to compliment what Madam Chair said in relation to the question that was asked, saying why the NDF have also been accommodated in the special voting day. The reason is simple. We, as state security agencies, we have got contingency plans in place in collaboration with the ECN, that is an independent body mandated to oversee the peaceful election processes. We have gone that extra mile to say what security needs to be put in place during this process. Now, the fact that the ONF are also given that opportunity, including the correctional service on the special day, is to strategize. When you go for voting, they will be on standby in defense should anything happen. More particularly in this incitement, security threats that are coming up. We cannot confine ourselves just to the ballot papers. They will be out there across the border and on standby to say if any political party that will be disgruntled and disappointed by the outcome of the whatever, and they would want to use force, then the defense will come in. There is what they call military aid to civil society. We are the civil police. Once the situation becomes volatile beyond our management, obviously the defense will come. The correctional, when we will be arresting a lot of misbehaving members, and our cells become full, the contingency planning in place is that the correctional service will be on duty to accommodate some of those culprits into the correctional facilities, because they are even bigger than the police cells. Simple as that.
Thank you very much. We have also come to the end of this Q&A. You can engage the IG further. I'm handing over to the program director. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you all respondents to the questions, and thank you for the questions as well. In the interest of time, I promise that by 1 o'clock we should have all made sure that we go and have lunch. I would like to call upon Mr. Mingilius just to take us through the brief presentation on how the EVM functions, so that we just have a clear indication of how it is. And he has also put up a station there to have the feel and look directly when we go out. You want to try voting, you can try it there. That is just for this exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I also just observe the protocol already established. My presentation will be brief. I will quickly just talk about the electronic voting machine, what it is, how it works, and how we implement it through our electoral process. Most often, when people are talking about electronic voting, there are two things that people have to bear in mind. Electronic voting systems comes in different shapes and sizes, or different type of technologies. For instance, you have got those which are computer-based, and those that are purely electronics. Now, the two are different in the way they operate. The computer one, they can be linked to the networks, they can be connected to network signals, and so forth. They've got software that one can access. Okay. Thank you. As I'm going along, just to cut time, you can ask your questions, you can interject, and then I can make clarifications quickly. Yeah, so as I was saying, the computer-based system can be networked, they can be loaded softwares, an application running on another application, and then you have got the electronics. Electronics, this is basically information, or the software is loaded on a chip, and that chip is hardwired onto a board. And this is the type of machine that the Electronic Voting Machine of Namibia is. It's a standalone machine. Think of it just like your normal calculator. your normal, don't even think scientific, normal calculators. The same technology used is the same technology used for the electronic voting machine. So we do not connect it to any network whatsoever. It does not transmit any signal. It doesn't even have ports. Oh, my apologies. It doesn't even have ports to connect anything or to introduce any foreign software or any other on the machine. The electronic voting machine consists of two components. As we have got two. The small one is what we call the control unit. This one is operated only by the polling official during polling. Then the other one is the ballot unit. In the CEO's presentation, you have seen the picture. This is the ballot unit. This is what the voter will interact with. It will be in the booth. Now, let me explain the two and how they function together. The control unit have got 4 sections. The display section, where all the information will be displayed when the machine is interacting with you. So the second one is our candidate set section. The candidate set section, we have our battery. The machine is powered by a battery that have got 72 hours guaranteed operational time, but they can last longer. Then under it we have got what we call the candidate set button. Because these machines are reusables, they cannot know any political party by name or candidate by any name. So that information, and because the software is also on a read-only memory chip, you cannot enter any information on it. So they only know it candidate 1 up to 60, or party 1 up to party 60. So we have to wait for the nomination period. When after the nomination period, when the people now put themselves up for to be elected, then we create a ballot paper. After that ballot paper, we tell now the machine what is on that ballot paper. Furthermore, it is also important to mention that the law says all the participants or all the contestants should be listed alphabetically. So at no way will we know who's going to be at what position at any time. So by pressing this button, the machine then now starts asking questions for input. For instance, it was designed to handle 2 elections simultaneously. It will ask you, set the number of elections. And a principal decision was taken that each election is going to have its own control unit for easy administration. So we set 1 election. Then it asks you, what type of election is it? Is it candidates or is it parties? For the presidential election, we select candidates. For the National Assembly, is parties. Then it will ask you, how many parties? Using the ballot unit, we make those selections. You press the last button of the candidate button, and then it will know if it's 11, then it will configure 11, and the machine is ready to be used. Now, this process, we have, throughout the electoral process or cycle, we have 3 main phases where the machines are prepared. And this is always done in the presence of all the political parties' representatives. For instance, before any machine is used, we conduct what we call the first level check. The first level check is mainly to check that this machine is working 100% as it came from the factory. All the buttons are functioning correctly. And also to look at the integrity of the machine, that they haven't been compromised or in any way, when all the chips are functioning. Then we have got another process, which is the setting of the machine by the returning officer. By law, only the returning officer should set this machine, this candidate set section part that I was explaining now. During that process, and as we speak, it's still taking place at the head office right now, where the returning officers are setting the ballot unit to the control unit. During that process as well, it's done transparently with the political party representatives. Once the candidate set section is done, we seal the inner compartment. A seal is attached to it with a number, and that seal number is recorded on our Form 1 or 21A. Political party representatives are also allowed to record those seal numbers. Then the outer cover is closed. We also seal the outer cover, attach an address tag. That address tag contains information of the region, the constituency, the polling station where this machine is going, and the serial number of the machine. The serial number can be found on the back of the machine and also in the software when you switch it on. So, and we record all that information on our Form 1, which we also provide to the political parties, even if they are not present during the candidate setting. Okay. Secondly, during the 1 hour before polling, the chairperson and the CEO spoke about the pre-poll test. 1 hour before polling, always, we also do another check. It's another process which allows to see, number one, does the machine contain any votes? Secondly, test that if you press this button, button 1, does that vote really goes to that candidate on that button? And thirdly, we perform the clear function to clear out all the information, including the pre-poll test results. So, and then the machine will indicate that every single candidate have got 0, 0, 0 before the polling starts. All right. Now, the next section, which is the results section, we have got 3 compartments. The first one have got a black closed button. It is 9 o'clock or 2100 in the evening. There's nobody in the 500-meter radius. It's time to close the poll. By pressing this button, it will not allow any more polling. The second one is the compartment with 2 yellow buttons. The top one is the result button, and the bottom one is the print button. The result button, by pressing that result button, it will declare the result. It will tell you, okay, so many people came to vote. And out of this many, candidate 1 got so many, candidate 2 have so many, and that will be displayed on the screen. We also attach a dot-metric printer on the back of the machine, and by pressing the print button, we print out the result. The results are printed on a typical copy. The top one goes to the returning officer at the collation center. The middle one is the one that is pasted together with that Form 5 or Form 6, depending on the election, at the polling station. And the third one is a spare copy, which is retained by the presiding officer, just in case something happened to any of the other forms. Yes?
Is there a maximum number the machine can hold or not?
In terms of votes, yes. The machine, 2,000 votes per machine. Maximum. 2,000 votes. Okay.
There was a question from the brother there.
Talking about me?
Yes. You had a question.
My question was about how the technical team's procedures in terms of monitoring and assisting the machine during voting, if anything goes wrong. That was the question.
Okay. Can I deal with that at the end? Sure. Yeah, I'll deal with that at the end. Yes.
As a follow-up question.
Yeah.
As a follow-up question, each machine can only hold 2,000 votes. So what happens in the event when that machine is full? Do you guys add another one, or how do you guys proceed with that?
Okay. I need to mention that when we designed the electronic voting machine for Namibia, we had to follow the same principles that you have with the ballot paper and ballot box. In that same scenario, when a ballot box is full, we take it away and we put another one. Similarly, should it happen that the EVM is full, we will take it away and we put another one. Right? The third compartment here is the clear button. This is the one that clears out the poll vote. That it's used only 3 times, and it's used through the 3 processes that I mentioned. First, during the first level check, when we are testing the machine that they are all working 100%, we also put votes, and then they have to be cleared out. Secondly, during the candidate set process, where the returning officer tells the machine what is on the ballot paper, they will also test, and then we clear. Thirdly is that 1 hour before polling, the machine is at the polling station, it's not going to move there after. After the pre-poll test, we press that clear button, it clears it, and we seal the inner compartment. We make sure that that button is not accessible anymore during polling. We put a seal, that seal number is recorded by all, and then we close the outer cover as well, just so that nobody have got access to any of those buttons during polling. Okay, the last section, this is the interesting one. We have got a total button, and we have got a ballot button. The total button is used primarily for two main reasons. Number one, at any time during polling, by pressing this button, you can find out the total number of people that have voted. An administrative form also accompanies this machine. Every time when a voter comes to vote, your VRN number or the voter registration number is recorded on that form, and a person signs. So that total number on those forms should tally with the total number on the machine. That is an administrative measure that is put in for transparency. Now, furthermore, the mobile teams, because the elections is not closed when they are moving from one point to another, they cannot close the poll. They use the close button. There is a form designed specifically for mobile teams. When they are leaving that particular polling station, they press the total, they record the total number. It only gives you the total number of those who have voted, not the result. That total is recorded on the form. They put the machine back into its carry cases. Into the carry case, we attach the seals on the carry case, allow political party representatives also to attach their own seals on the carry case, move to the next point. When they arrive there, they verify the seals, break the seals afterwards, switch on the machine, and continue polling. And then, of course, before they continue polling, they have to press the total again, just to make sure that that same number that when they left is still the same one. When they leave again, the same process is followed. That's for the total button. The large one here, which is ballot, this is the one, like in the conventional system of ballot paper and ballot box. A voter comes to the polling station. After the verification process, you are issued with a ballot paper. The voter goes into the booth. In the booth, the voter makes a mark on the ballot paper, fold the ballot paper, come out and deposit it into the box. Now, similarly with the machine, every voter that comes at the polling station is issued with an electronic ballot. By pressing this button, you activate the ballot unit in the booth. The voter goes in there and make their mark. For every single voter, the button must be pressed. Of course, the middle one is the buzz. Every action that takes place on this machine is followed by a buzz. That buzz is to alert everybody in the polling station, including the party agents that are there to monitor the process, that there is something happening. Even when the voter have cast the vote, a beep will be heard, a long beep, indicating that the vote have been cast, and the person must be in the booth, must vacate the booth. Okay? So that is the control unit. The ballot unit, it have got 15 candidate buttons on each ballot unit and a red register button. It's got candidate lamps that illuminate, pointing at the selected candidate. Then we have got the ballot screen. Under the ballot screen, this is where you will find the ballot paper. And each candidate will correspond to a button. I will just quickly show you inside how the ballot is inserted. This is basically how it looks like inside. When the buttons are masked off, they are non-operational. When they are unmasked, they are operational. They become green. The screen, we open it at the end here and put our ballot paper inside. Once the ballot paper is in, we seal the ballot paper in, and those seal numbers are also recorded on that form 1 or 21A. We close the ballot unit, And the ballot unit is sealed as well. We attach a seal and on top as well with the address tag. Now the address tag also signed at the back by the political party representatives present, either whether when we are preparing the machine, setting it, and in the morning or that 1 hour before elections that the pre-poll test was done. Those tags are attached. Now, how does a voter record a vote? Like on the paper, you make a mark, you press the green button, the light comes on, pointing straight at the candidate that you have selected. If you are satisfied that your mark is correct, then you press the red button. That is like depositing it into the box. Now, what if a voter makes a mistake by pressing a wrong button? The light comes on, you press that same button again, the light goes off, and then you can select whichever candidate you want. We give that option. Permanently attached to this ballot unit is a 5-meter cable to protect the secrecy of the ballot, because this one has to be in the booth, and the control unit is in the peripheral view of all those who are in the polling station. Okay. Are there any questions so far before I move to the next step? No questions? Okay. Now, once the poll is closed, it's now 9 o'clock, the poll is closed, the results have to be declared. Once those results are declared, by pressing that result button, but the result button also, we attach a paper seal that the person have to pierce through to leave evidence that the results have been declared. Important to note, the machine is designed to follow the process strictly. You cannot declare result before the poll is closed, for instance. You cannot clear out the result before they were declared. So once that is done, the presiding officer then now pastes that result at the polling station, and then they move to the collation center. At the collation center is where we have our tabulator. On the table on the other side, as you are going out, we have set up a polling station on the other side. We can demonstrate to you how they are connected to. The machines are then brought to the collation center. The same port for the printer, because it's an output function. That's where we connect our tabulator, and then all the result for the whole constituency can be tabulated after connecting all the control units to the tabulator and receive the result. Then you have the total. Remember, these results are already declared at the polling station, and the collation center is just adding them together. The printout is also done, and political parties also present during that process also signs on the result printout to verify that yes, these results are correct. Now, coming back to the technical support. Depending on the number of polling stations that a constituency have, we have allocated a number, that quota of technicians that are in that particular constituency. When a problem arises at the polling station, the presiding officer is to contact the technician that is assigned to that particular polling station. And that technician will then go to that polling station and provide technical assistance. We have got two technologies there. This is the VVT and the electronic voting machine. Those are the only technologies that are available at the polling station during polling. And those are the ones that are provided technical support. The technicians who have all been trained. My apologies again. Yeah, it wants us to wake up a bit, I suppose. Yeah. All technicians have been trained properly on all the technologies. When it comes to the EVMs, we do not fix the EVM during polling. If something is wrong with the EVM, we simply pack it away, and we put another machine, and the polling continues. At the end of the day, when you have to tally the votes, the two machines are added together. The result of the two machines will be added together to get a total. Yes, there was a hint.
So in the event that the machine malfunctions,
yes,
it doesn't necessarily clear the votes that were placed on that machine.
No, because of... Yeah.
So should it malfunction, you guys stop, you discontinue using it, and then you replace it with another one?
Correct.
Is there an event where these results are erased or something happens to it?
No, those results have to be kept on that machine because they have to be added together with the other. Yeah, and because of the type of technology used, the difference between random access memory and read-only memory. Random access memory, once the power goes off, it loses all the information. While the ROM, the read-only memory, it retains, even if the chip is removed, that information is still retained on that chip. This is how we are able to get that information, even if the machine is malfunctioning or broken.
Sorry, and then just... Sorry, and then just on that note, so I'm just trying to visualize the experience of the voter. So the voter is about to vote and something goes wrong. Now I hear that you're saying that the machine will record and maintain all the information that it has done so far. How will the ECN communicate to the voter, they're standing there, that you are fine, your vote has been registered, if they have already pressed? And if they haven't pressed it, no, don't worry, the new machine is coming and so on and so forth. Will that happen by the technician or the head of the team, the person officer?
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Yes. The regulations on the use of the machine makes provision for that replacement of the machine. The rules governing that process are stipulated in that regulation. As a matter of fact, once something happened, the returning officer must be notified, and the occurrence book also, the presiding officer has an occurrence book where they record this incident as well. Now, on the part of where the voter have already pressed the button, we can verify by looking at the total, was that vote recorded? You can verify with the number of votes that are registered on our Form 27. Total number on that form and the total number on the machine must match. If there is one miss, that means that person didn't vote. Those are the procedures. Yeah, correct. Yes, since we started with the EVM, we have never had any malfunction of any machine whatsoever. And part of that is because of the technology used. You don't really get a lot of malfunctions with that type of machines. But yes, anything can happen. We made provision for that eventuality. Yeah.
How many technicians you have?
Yes. We have, in total, countrywide, we have got 325 technicians deployed. Depending on the number of polling stations that are in the constituency, we allocated a total number of that per quarter. To say, for instance, one technician can support 3 polling stations. Yeah. That way.
Mingiles, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be you to respond to, but since you said UNED carries 2,000, can carry, has the capacity of 2,000. Is that the standard that we are setting, that we are saying that each polling station will carry 2,000 voters?
Yeah, perhaps.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Or why do not, like, maybe let's say,
yes,
like 500 people per polling station, something like that, something standard.
Yes, interestingly, and this is a detail that we forgot to share. When you look at the turnout at polling stations in our country during elections, especially during 2014, coming this side, since we introduced EVMs, there is no single polling station in this country where 2,000 or more people would go and vote. At the most, 1.5, 1.6, at a good turnout somewhere in Windhoek, 1.7 maybe. which I find quite interesting. However, as we're saying, the maximum number of votes each EVM can process is maximum 2,000 votes.
Maybe to elaborate further, scientifically also, even if one voter takes 1 minute.
Actually, why do we not set a standard by saying that, for example, each polling station will have 500 voters, 700 voters, or 1,000 voters?
Like a one system kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, that's. I don't think there's a provision in our law for that. Yeah. Yes.
The issue is that during the presidential election, the country becomes one constituency, which means we cannot accurately determine how many people are going to come to a polling station. Because you can have somebody who is from the north comes and votes in Windhoek. We cannot predict that so many people are going to come at this particular polling station. In the system where you have to vote where you are registered, that is a different situation. The regional council and local authority elections, because then you prepare the numbers according to the number of registered voters in that constituency, and then you can determine the number at the polling station. But that is only where you vote, where you have registered. But in the presidential election, unfortunately, it is not possible to do that. This is a debate going forward that can still be had with civil society and political parties to have people voting where they register. But unfortunately, there has been quite a bit of resistance towards that for presidential and National Assembly elections. So if we had that system, it could be done.
Yeah, in addition, we also anticipate high volume areas where we create streams or an extra machine in that polling station just to facilitate the moving fast. Any other questions? No more questions? Then should you want to feel and touch the machine, on the table in the corner there we have set up, and then you can just vote and feel to check. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mingelius, for his well elaborate process of what our EVMs are all about. I'm so much concerned with time because it seems like everyone is escaping the venue, so I'll just ask my colleague to officially thank you all, and that is Commissioner Elsie. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The good news is I'm the last speaker. The better news is that my speech is extremely short. I stand on the protocol established by the previous speakers. As we come to the end of this occasion, allow me to make a few closing remarks and express our gratitude to all of you for making time to attend this important briefing session. The aim of this briefing session was to update all local, regional, and international observers on the state of preparedness by the Commission for the 2019 Presidential and National Assembly elections, scheduled to take place in a week's time. As stated earlier by the chairperson, the preparations for the forthcoming national elections are progressing as planned in line with the 2019 ECN election calendar adopted by the Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, election observation has become an integral part of any electoral process. It is universally recognized that election observers play an important role in enhancing the transparency, credibility, and the acceptance of the election results. The Electoral Commission of Namibia believes that election observers assist to build public confidence in the electoral processes. Observation can help promote and protect the civil and political rights of participants in elections. It can also help to improve and strengthen electoral processes. When observers issue positive reports, it builds trust in the democratic process and enhances the legitimacy of the governments that emerge from the elections. I'm glad to inform you today that the support, advice, and recommendations that have been afforded to the ECN during our past elections by both local, regional, and international observers have proved to be very valuable to the Commission in efficiently executing its mandate as provided for in the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act mandates ECN to organize, direct, supervise, manage, control the conduct of elections and referenda in a free, fair, independent, credible, transparent, and impartial manner. The Act further obliges ECN to strengthen constitutional democracy and to promote democratic electoral and referenda processes. Namibia, as a part of the global community, is signatory to a number of international and regional instruments, such as the AU Declaration on the Principles Governing Democratic Elections in Africa and the Africa Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance that promote human rights and the consolidation of democracy in member states. These instruments are intended to promote political participation, improve electoral standards, and facilitate the consolidation of democracy in member states. It's thus our duty as an electoral management body to uphold democratic practices within our elections and promote peace, security, and stability in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to express on behalf of the Commission and its staff our appreciation for your commitment to electoral democracy in Namibia. In the next few days, as you would have perused through the information provided to you, to assist you at your various deployments, you will have noticed all the efforts ECN has made in ensuring that this election becomes a success. During your observation, you will be interacting with our staff on a regular basis, witnessing their efficiency and efficacy in administering the voting processes at our polling stations. Finally, as we look forward to the elections, it's important to keep note of why we expend so much time, energy, and resources to conduct elections. It's because elections, which are administered and conducted in a free, fair, and credible manner, are a very important manner in which citizens elect their representatives. With these few words, I hope you travel safely to your respective deployment destinations, and herewith officially close the briefing session for local, regional, and international observers. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Elsie. And I see people are eager to leave. As you leave the venue, feel free to vote. We will clear it after you are done. And pick up something. There's some refreshments outside. And all the best. And let me also thank myself for having done a good job. Our apologies for working outside the scheduled time. Thank you.